So recently I was asked about my UI and how I made it, so I decided that I would make a video instead of taking pictures to better explain the makeup of my UI. So for those of you that don't know what UI mod I'm using, I'm actually using a modification called ElvUI. It is actually a really popular add-on other than things like Bartender and such things, but I actually really enjoy this add-on. It helps keep everything nice and clear. It's very user friendly, very able to customize it as much as you want. So let's go into that a little bit. So when you start up ElvUI, it'll give you a startup wizard, and it'll take you through the starting procedures. But I definitely wanted it so that I could move things around and make things a little bit clearer. That was the very point of me changing all of this around, was to have a very clear screen, so when I raid that I can see everything. So let's dive in a little bit. As you can tell, that I don't have anything on the screen. That'll change as I do certain various things. So I don't have any unit frames, but they are mouse over. So I do have it. It's just only mouse over, or if I target something or click something, all of a sudden the targeted unit frame will show up, and as will mine. Also, you do see that there are no action bars, which is customizable as well, and they are all mouse over. I decide to hide them because they are unnecessary, and if they are there, I tend to look down at them all the time. So I decided to make them mouse over so that I don't see them, and that I can keep my eyes up at my character and the screen more frequently. But I can show you some more of the stuff. So the way I have this all laid out, I definitely tried to make it so that the unit frame for the target and their cast bars and focus frames are all definitely visible at all points during the fight. The reason I made these very big is so that you cannot miss what is being cast. You cannot accidentally miss an interrupt. So I decided to make those quite big. I moved the boss frames over here to the left because I wanted them out of the way but not inconvenient to look at. So I put them slightly off to the side of my unit frame, and for any extra action bars or extra action buttons or boss buttons and such things like that, such as Blackrock Foundry's Blast Furnace, when you get a bomb, it'll be right there on that button, and so that's kind of nice. When you start up and make ElvUI, they will put in two chat boxes. I actually kind of liked it, and on the right box they generally put loot/trade. But what I did instead is because I stream, I put guild and whisper on one side, and then I put my camera over top of it. So that way it's kind of out of the way. And actually, I like having the guild/whisper on its own separate one, so that I can have my left one, if I'm pugging and I'm not with my guild or something like that, I can have that on my party chat, and then I can still see all of what the guild's doing, and it's not overlapping itself, and it's not in the way of itself. I have my cast bar in the middle. It's not necessarily needed for a monk, but it is kind of nice to see where your ticks are at when you're channeling certain moves or other various things. I left the player buffs in the same area, although the minimap handles all of the static raid buffs. This handles all of the little personal nuance buffs. So I decided to do it that way. Over here you can see that I've got the little micro bar, which is your character, your achievements buttons and things like that. The bag bar, tooltips, and the other extra action bars that I use are over here. But if you see when I come out of this, they're not actually there. That way it keeps the screen way more open and visible. So I decided to make those all mouse over as well. I only actually use the two. And then these are mouse over as well, so that during like fights and things like that, they're not there. And my mouse is never over there anyways. Now, as you can see, when I go into combat, I still do not have my action bars, but I do have all of this show up in the middle. This is actually all weak auras. I have all these here because these are all of the pertinent information and skill moves that I need to know. that I need to know the cooldowns. I need to know when they're on and off, when I can use them immediately. And so these are the only ones that I have that will show. These are actually the only buttons in my action bars that I really need to know anything about. That's why the rest of them are hidden, and because they're all just extra. And I also have them memorized, so I don't really need to be looking down at them. So I have all this set up. If any of you guys want to know any of these, I can gladly show you what they are. They're all really easy. None of them are complex. I think the most complex one that I have is probably this one right here, which is my Transcendence one. It'll tell me when it's active, when it's in range, when it's on cooldown. So currently right now it's saying that it's in range and the necessary predecessor for transition is there. So now if I hit it, it'll show that it's not necessarily in range because it's on cooldown, so you can't hit it anyways, but it is definitely showing you the cooldown that is left on it. You know, the orange right there was for power strikes, but power strikes gets consumed by expel harm. This blue right here is actually thunder focus T, and then I'll use that. And then that goes on cooldown. Then I've got diffuse magic, all these other, you know, little things. You know, roll, because when I use things like roll to get out of the way of things, I need to know when it's on and off cooldown, how many charges I have. Generally, it's only really used for chi torpedo and things like that. This is my ever-burning candle active. You know, my pool of mist charges, which is actually really helpful when you get that proc where it doesn't consume your charge, and then all of a sudden you're sitting on a charge that you didn't know you had. So that's actually really nice to know. And then things like revival. So this orange is telling me that I have power strikes up again, so that I never sit on a charge of that or waste it. And then this blue one that's about to show up, that is my Thunder Focus T, so that I never waste that one as well. So as you've noticed, I am definitely a mistweaver, and I don't have any raid frames, and I'm not using I've actually turned off the raid frames for ElvUI because I already had VuhDo in place. So raid frames right there, they're definitely turned off because I already had VuhDo in place. Now I have VuhDo set up so that it'll only show while I'm in combat, and I have that as part of, or while I'm in combat and while I'm in a party, and I have that set up so that way, so that when I'm not in any of those situations, that it's a very nice and clear screen. But let's see if I can get a guilty to join me. Well, it doesn't look like I can actually get anybody to join me right here at the moment. Let's see if I can just do this for video purposes. Now that right there, that showed that the ever-burning candle was back up, is Milk's scrolling battle text, but I decided not to use that except for things like that. There you go. So now it says that I'm in a group. So now I have this, and it's available to me. If you want to know the specific settings on that, I can definitely give them to you guys through such things as Pastebin. But otherwise, it's just a standard VuhDo setup. I have it to show the class colors instead, and so they're not all just green. You know, various things like that. Nothing super special there. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm gonna leave this party now because I showed you that. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to show you was I have this set up. Instead of Milk scrolling battle text, or the default UI used for World of Warcraft, I have something called XCT Plus, which is set up so that it'll show me when I crit, if I crit. Let's see if I can get something to crit. Well, I guess nothing really wants to crit. There we go. Let's see if this will work. There we go. So see all of this over here? Those are definitely the XCT that I prefer to use other than the general scrolling battle text by World of Warcraft, Blizzard, or Milk scrolling battle text. And as you saw, all of the little tiny iterations of the picture after the big one, those are showing that it multi-striked, that it procced the multi-strike proc. So there, it just shows that they hit, what their crit was, and that they didn't multi-strike. Now you can also have it show you what every heal you do does, but I don't need to see what every heal is doing. I just want to see how much my crits are doing. And that is actually here, and you can set that up to do combat text. You can have it do damage and other various things. Like to leave combat now. There. So this is XCT Plus, and it is really cool. I definitely saw this from a different streamer, and thought it was really awesome to see what it was doing, and so I decided to try it out myself, and I actually really like it. You can have it do your general battle text, telling you when things come off cooldown. Can you have it tell you all your outgoing heals and absorbs and damage and things like that? I turn that off. You can have it show only your criticals, which is all I have it do. You can also have it show you the incoming and healing, damage. It can show you the combo points, which was that little number that was right here in the middle when I was fighting that target dummy. You can do the class power, so if you have like runic power, there's various things like that. Special effect procs, loot money. But all I really move it for, or use it for, is just the outgoing criticals of my healing, because that's all I really want to see. And as you can see, this is what it would look like for all I have that's proccing and showing is just the criticals. If you want it to show other things, you could have it just show everything that's outgoing down here, but I just choose not to. I only want to see the pertinent criticals that happen, because that's all that really matters to me. I just want to know how well I'm outputting everything. So otherwise, down here, when I'm in a boss fight, it won't show otherwise. I have Aura 3, and I have that specifically only for this, the battle res monitor. I have it because I personally, as a monk, don't have one, and as an officer of my raid, or guild and raid, those things are definitely pertinent for me to know in making decisions on who to res, if we should hold out, and various things like that. And if you have any other questions, go ahead and feel free to ask. I'll have a list of all of my add-ons that I use for my UI in the description. Otherwise, thanks for watching.